programme starts today, I'd like to say a very big thank you to our listener, because without your ears and without your input, we wouldn't make this podcast any better than it is. Well, we're still trying to work on that one, but honestly, just keep following, share it with your friends, and that'd be really cool. Thank you very much indeed. Now, today it's exciting because we have with us Keith Brymer-Jones, Marj, Hogarth. The Potters, millions will know from the TV series The Great Pottery Throw. Now, before the television came the clay. Before the clay came the person. And now that person's helping to give a forgotten place a brand new life. Across Wales, there are buildings that quietly hold the fingerprints of generations. Places where people gathered, celebrated, argued, sang, mourned and belonged. Some buildings disappear. Others wait patiently for someone to hear what they still have to say. In Pwllheli, one such place is Capel Salem, a building with a long memory and now a very different future. Today on our podcast, Voices of the Land, People, Power and Places, we're exploring what happens when two creative people decide not just to restore a building, but to restore a sense of possibility. Welcome to Marj.
Hello.
And I'd also like to say welcome to Helen.
Hi.
Now, Helen, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I didn't anticipate that you'd be in on this today.
Okay. My name's Helen Clifton. I'm a journalist and producer, and I live in Nevin. And I've lived here for about 10 years. And in that time, I've mainly worked producing podcasts and documentaries for BBC Radio. But a few years ago, I got involved with a community pub in Nevin called Pwllheli. And as a volunteer working on that community pub, I learned a lot about community development and how to restore old, neglected buildings, in this case, a pub, back into community use. Because the pub was empty, it was then called the Sportsman, the community bought it and restored it back to life. And it's now a thriving pub again. And through that experience and that process, I kind of became quite interested in the idea of restoring old buildings and the ideas around sort of how communities can benefit from the restoration of old buildings. And so I started to get asked to help community groups do the same thing. So then other organisations got in touch with me, other people who wanted to bring back to life old buildings. And one of the groups who got in touch with me was a couple called Keith and Marg. And they had obviously bought Capel Salem, and they were working with my partner Rodri, who is an architect, and he was the architect on this project. And they wanted some help and support in bringing back Capel Salem, the chapel element of the Capel Salem complex, into community use. So that's a really kind of long-winded way of saying that I'm helping Keith and Marg to bring Capel Salem back to life.
So you effectively found each other, didn't you? Fate sort of said, well, you've got the experience. Marj and Keith had clearly got the desire to do something that was pretty auspicious, and you just got together on that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Marj, a very big welcome to
Thank
the
you.
Dunkers podcast.
Thank
you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the welcome that you gave me when I came down today. Before you even walked through these doors, what did you anticipate that was going to be in front of you? What did Capel Salem mean to you?
To be honest, it didn't mean anything to me. I'd never heard of Pwllheli. We saw the word written down. We had no idea how to say it. But we were at a stage of our lives where we needed to put down permanent roots. Both Keith and I are divorced, and we were both starting again, and we had a very small budget. The pottery element that we are creating in the building runs through everything we do in our lives, because Keith is a potter, and that has a main focus because that's his bread and butter, it's his creative outlet, it's what he's done all of his life. So we were looking for a building that could accommodate a studio for Keith that he owned. He's never owned a studio before, he's only ever rented. And we were looking at buildings of size that were somewhat inexpensive. So when we came across Capel Salem, being English, we thought it was Salem Chapel, which it isn't. Being a bit witchy, I thought that was a great idea. So we travelled up from Kent, 7 hours, panic, to come and view Capel Salem, thinking we were going to miss out on the opportunity to own it. No one had told us it had been on the market for 12 years. But we had no expectation about what we were going to find inside. We viewed it 5 times before we bought it, because we kept going away and looking at other buildings. But things kept bringing us back here. And we now live here. So, yeah.
So when you walked through the door, did you think you were buying a building or inheriting a responsibility?
Definitely inheriting a responsibility.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that the building is so visual in the town, everyone in this town who is born and bred here has a relationship with this building already. And what we have to do is lead them very gently by the hand and show them what the building can be in the future. It can't be a chapel again. That didn't work. It worked for over 100 years. How marvellous. But times have changed. And diminishing congregation just meant that it was unviable. The work that needs to be done, it was too expensive, which is why the church basically walked away from it 14, 15 years ago.
Okay, they gave up on it, did they?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And has there been, even now, has there been any point that you've turned around and said, oh, gosh, Keith, what have we done?
No.
No,
brilliant. Because that, and I don't think that's to do with the building. I think that's to do with us. I'm someone who believes that you have to live in the moment.
Right.
And you can't be constantly looking forward and thinking, oh my God, we've still to do this and we've still to do that. All of those things are in the back of my head. But we're in a process with this building, as we are all in a process with our lives. And this to me just feels like a really natural progression forward.
So would you say that you're giving way to a romantic dream for practicality, or practicality has taken over a romantic dream, even if you had one?
I think dream is...
Too ethereal a word?
Yes, I think dream and romance are words that I wouldn't use.
Okay.
I would say we have a vision for this building, and that's what we're working towards. And I have no idea how much it's going to cost or how long it's going to take, which are 2 questions that the general public ask all the time, and that's like a knife in my heart. It will take as long as it takes, but there will be no compromise. We will do this building as we feel it needs to be done.
Okay, if Keith were here now, and Keith, I will sort of say to our listener, is busily throwing at the moment in a different part of the building, and was equally welcoming. Thank you very much indeed. So do you think that he sees this as a creative space that maybe in his life he didn't have? Because doing a wee bit of research, he felt as though it was creativity found him not immediately. He sort of discovered it on his journey. Do you think this is a creative space that others will discover in the same way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, what we want to create here is a neutral space where we can show art, where we can show performance art, where we can showcase live music, where what we want is a space that people come into and what they experience stays with them.
Right. So creativity not only, it didn't actually just save you, it gave you a future. It created a pathway for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an actor by trade. I've worked in the theatre all of my working life. Keith's obviously a maker. But creativity, art, craft, whatever you want to call it, is who we are. In the same way that a plumber is a plumber, I'm an actor. That's my skill set. Why would I not want to create a space where other people can experience high quality work that might take them forward in their lives, that they might inspire them to do something more creative, not even necessarily in their work life, but in their hobby life, that they can just latch on to something that will enrich them personally.
And Capel Salem has got or will have the atmosphere to be able to bring that out in them. Because from the sounds of things, it isn't just the delivery on your aspirations, it's you're opening the door and giving the platform to others.
Absolutely.
To do exactly the same.
Absolutely. And what we want to do is to create...
And is the building, is the building part of that sort of, that permission that they'll come in, and because of the building, because of the character of the building, it will enhance, it will free them to be able to do what they want to do under your guidance, I guess.
Possibly. I think one of the things that we've got in our armoury is the fact that we are making a television programme that is based in this building. And if that's the only thing that makes people curious to come through the door, then that's enough. Because it's our job then to create something that they leave with in their heart, if you know what I mean. But if the telly is the only reason they're interested to cross the threshold, that's enough. Because we all just need a reason.
Yes, yeah. And Helen, do you think the telly, for example, is enough, as Marj has just alluded to? Do you think the platform is strong enough?
It's an amazing opportunity, the television programme. It's an incredible platform. I mean, how many other kind of ventures of this, this is a substantial building.
Absolutely.
And, a lot can happen here. But it is an amazing opportunity. But I think, the reason why the programme has been so popular is because there is an authenticity to this whole project and to Keith and Marj's trajectory as creatives, as individuals, as people. There's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of openness, there's a kind of feeling of like we're all in it together kind of thing. And I think at the moment we live in quite a sort of fragmented society, and people are struggling with feelings of isolation and loneliness. And I think people need something that makes them feel, not alone, but also that they're part of a collective endeavour that is, based around something as inclusive as creativity.
Yeah.
Because it sits within all of us.
Yeah.
And there's the great thing about what Keith and Marj do as well is it can be as sort of, sophisticated, but it can also be, as simple as people want it to be. And I think the programme has established that really well. This building reflects that simplicity and sophistication as well, I think, because the reason why it appeals, I think, to so many people, the reason why it's so powerful is because you had people congregating here from all backgrounds, all different walks of life, all together. And it's a space for all souls. And I think the creativity of the place is reflected in that kind of love of the place. So the kind of contribution that people made to have this collective space was really kind of from all walks of life. But people were elevated by spending time here. And I think that's because they were spending time together, you know, worshipping something bigger than themselves. And, you know, it was God, but you could say that like the divine is creative, whatever. I think I think doing something creative here is a continuation of what it was originally established to be, which is a place that is bigger than yourself, where you can kind of be free, really, to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But like it's still evolving.
Of course it's still evolving, but ultimately what we wanted to do was take away all those barriers that the art world loves to put up. So, you know, you'll maybe go to a gallery and you'll look at it from the outside and you'll think, oh, it looks a bit posh for me. You go to the theatre and everybody's dressed up. Oh, it looks a bit posh for me. I'm not sure I'd like it. We don't need any of that. We just need really high quality work that people want to come and see, or even if they're not sure they want to come and see, we've seen it on the telly, we'll go and have a look. The work then does the job. The work then touches them in the same way that, you're right, collectively coming together as a congregation. People felt full. You know, they would leave church feeling full up.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
It's that shared space that
Absolutely.
that empowers them to go forward until, frankly, the next time they walk through the door. Because often they would go from one awakening to another, wouldn't they? From one week to another. So, on a practical point of view, who is the one that, between you and Keith, who sort of said, okay, this is how it's got to be done? This is there one of you? No, you just share it.
Absolutely.
You just say, this has got to be done.
Absolutely.
How are we going to crack it off?
Yeah, I mean, Keith is much more financially savvy than I am.
Okay.
But we certainly don't, there's no one in charge, right, and we're not in competition with each other.
Who had the bigger vision, if there was one?
I think the vision has grown with us. I think going through the process of creating our home has carried us forward to the point we're at now, where we can visualise what we want in here. But that our home had to be the priority because we had to be on site to make this possible.
Yeah.
And we now live here.
Absolutely.
And we're part of the community.
Do you ever feel it's a bit overwhelming? It's a big journey, this one, Marj.
Sometimes I'm overwhelmed in Asda. You know, that's what life is.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's really overwhelming and sometimes you just take it all in your stride. This is no different. It's just on a bigger it's just on a bigger scale.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And so if one of you has a down day, because we all get them, the other one props that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the value of this partnership, clearly.
Yeah.
And I suppose to a degree, just coming back on what Helen was saying about shared space, when people come in here and allow their creativity to flourish, then they won't always get it right straight away. No. And they will need the camaraderie of other people who are here to help them through it, won't
Of course, but you also can't please all the people all the time. All we ask is that people come in with their eyes open and their hearts open to see what they might enjoy. You know, and some people find that really challenging. Some people find it really easy. Time will tell.
Have you found different perspectives of yourself, different sort of visions of yourselves through this building?
Absolutely.
Have you?
Absolutely.
Really?
When we first started to renovate our home, I would get completely and utterly overwhelmed. I remember our lovely builder, Hugh, asking where I wanted plug sockets. And it made me cry because I couldn't imagine what I wanted, knowing what I wanted, knowing how that was going to work out. The responsibility of that felt so enormous that, you know, I'm going to do this once. If I put the socket in the wrong place, the socket will always be in the wrong place. And it's just that point of getting over that and going, do you know what? If the socket's in the wrong place, you get an extension lead. Yeah. No one will die because the socket's in the wrong place. But it's just learning that these things are really important, but they're not that important.
And that wasn't you before you started this undertaking?
Well, I'd never... My life's been very complicated. So we'd only ever rented when in the time that Keith and I have lived together.
Okay.
So those decisions are all made for you.
Yeah.
This was a completely new thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, this particular series that we're doing, The Voices of the Land, is really, as I said very briefly at the start, it's about people, power and places. And this sort of encompasses the spirit of the Clean and of North Wales. What brought you to, and you've told us, thank you, about how you actually sort of came to here, but when you came to Wales, did Wales ever figure in your mind years ago that, oh, well, we might go and live by the seaside, and the seaside could be Wales?
Well, I've for the last 20 years I've lived by the sea in different places. My mother was from the Isle of Bute on the west coast of Scotland, and my parents moved back to Bute 30 odd years ago. My parents are both dead now. So being by the sea is really significant. I mean, the Isle of Bute's tiny, so you can't escape the fact that you're by the sea. So being by the sea, that was a really big thing. Keith and I had both lived in Margate together, so being on the coast was really important. Yeah. So that was, if we could live by the sea, that was a big box ticked. We looked at buildings in the southeast. I mean, they were all beyond our stretch financially. But I had a feeling that we would end up in Wales. Both of Keith's parents were Welsh, although South Walian. We did look at two chapels in South Wales. One was on the Gower, one was just outside Swansea. But I always felt we would come north, because the landscape for me is really familiar. I lived in Scotland for a really, really long time. So this colour palette...
It isn't dissimilar, is it?
No. Not in the
And the experience, if you travel from North Wales through the valleys, is a similar experience. I know many people sort of have said that. It's, you know, they've almost not been unsure where they were at times, because there is such a similarity. Yeah,
I mean, when we lived in Margate, my mother could never understand anyone who lived at the sea who didn't see land in the distance. She would say, that's not a sea view, because she'd grown up on an island that looks out over to mountains on the mainland. She just thought, why on earth would you just look out at the water? How very boring. So when we came here for the first time, and suddenly you go, I know this is a different place, but it's so familiar, that it just felt right.
And do you feel comfortable with the community? Does the community feel comfortable with you so far?
The community have been incredibly welcoming to us. I mean, people tell you that, the Welsh don't like the English. And I would just say, maybe they just didn't like you.
Could be personal.
Because ultimately, like I said before, you're never going to please all the people all the time. But you have to meet people halfway. You have to put a bit of effort in if you want to be part of a community. And that's what we've done, and it's been met twofold. We've been really lucky.
And chapels have been an absolutely integral part of the community, as Helen was referring to earlier on. It's obviously, I didn't realise that you'd actually looked at two other places besides this. So there is that spirit of community in the building anyway, isn't there? And do you feel that? Do you feel you're on show because you're both celebrities?
Wow. There are two words we're not allowed to use in our house. One is the C word and one is the F word.
Okay.
C being celebrity and F being fan. But you can't escape the fact that people feel invested in what we're doing.
No.
And it's finding the balance between being really grateful that they're interested enough to come and have a look, while remaining a little bit boundaried, because you can't give of yourself all the time. And, you know, in life, we all have to hold something back occasionally. So the first time we came to see the building, my mother was dying. I knew she was dying. And my father died when we shot the first series. So all of those things make you who you are as well. And maybe there are days when you have, we've all had grief, we've all had distress, we've all had tragedy and loss and all of those things. And sometimes you don't want to have a conversation. So it is finding that balance between being available to people who are interested while remaining a little bit private, because you can't give of yourself all the time.
I'm sure it's so tiring, especially when you're in front of the camera.
To be honest, the in front of the camera is the easy bit. That's the easy bit, yeah. Okay. We work with a really small crew.
Okay.
And they know us and we know them, and we trust them and they trust us. And if you're having a bad day, we will always say, just to let you know, I've just had a call from Scottish Power, or I've just had, and I'm not feeling great. Just so that when people come to work with us, if you're not having a great day, they don't think it's them. Yeah. Because that's not fair.
Yeah. So you put the model around where you are on that particular time, and they know then, don't
Absolutely.
they? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And clearly, Helen, if you had anything to do with the selection of the crew, you got a good crew, because they sound as though they're very empathetic to the experience you're going through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if we look at the building, if we look at Capel Salem, and what do you want, or what do you think people will say about it in 10 years' time? What would you like them to say about it in 10 years' time?
I would like them to recount an experience they had in this building, something that has stayed with them, something that has moved them, something that resonated. That's what I would like, because the building's very striking. Obviously, it needs an awful lot of work and it needs an awful lot of money spent on it, but it will look better. There's no doubt about that. But the construction of the building and what will happen here are two separate things. And it's what happens in this space that will move people.
When I was just trying to get my head around how to frame this interview, I thought to myself about the influence that you would have on local people and people afar that would sort of find this as a destination. I've just made a note of a few of them. It's things like, and do sort of shout at me if you think I've got this wrong, it's about education. Young people are very integral to your
Absolutely.
visions.
So we've partnered up with the college up the road.
Oh, okay.
And we will do events with them eventually.
So we've got creativity, we've got craft, mental well-being. That's without a doubt something that is so high on the agenda nowadays,
Absolutely.
and will continue to be higher.
But any kind of making is good for mental health.
Fair point.
Any kind of coming together is good for mental health.
Yeah.
There's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of it.
Yeah. And I guess other more superficial influences are things like tourism.
Absolutely.
You'll have an effect on tourism. Community is an obvious one. Helen alluded to it herself earlier on. But authenticity is something that I also thought there must be authenticity in this building, because you're trying to create it. So it had something that you're trying to get out of the fabric of the building, aren't you?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I just want it to be really good work that's put on here. Really good work. Because I've done, I've worked in the theatre for the last 40 odd years, and I've done work that I've known has not been as good as it could be, yet people come up and go, oh my God, that was amazing, I loved it, I feel this, I feel that, and you just think, wow, if it had been better, what more could you have got out of it?
But that's probably because you're your greatest critic.
Maybe, but quality. It's got to be quality work.
Yeah. And Helen, what do you think is one of the legacies that will surround this place?
I think it's really difficult to say, because...
Is that because Marj and Keith are yet to continue to sort of develop their handwriting, or...?
I think because everything constantly evolves.
Okay.
And I think it's impossible to say, sort of if you say what something will be, it's good to keep it as open as possible.
Absolutely, because it changes all the time.
Yeah.
It's organic.
Yeah.
It develops all the time. And every time you have one idea, it leads you to another idea and another idea.
So if I sort of said to you, Marj, sketch out where this is going, you probably would get to the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But then left field comes in and ideas come in and people come in.
Absolutely.
And they will sort of say, no, we'll push you over that way. Or
Absolutely.
That way.
And we might have one theatre company that come and do a thing, and suddenly you go, that's it. That's the direction we need to go.
Right. Yeah.
But you don't know till you know.
No, you don't.
But that's life, isn't it? You never know till you know.
But you sound as though you're enjoying this one. This life.
Yeah.
This
No,
journey.
I'm really lucky.
Yeah.
Really lucky. Yeah.
So the Abersock Dunkers have created this podcast to capture the lives of people in the community of North Wales and the Clean. And I'd like to extend from the Dunkers a really big welcome to you and Keith to come down and have a dunk with us, because the ocean is always here. Yeah. We're trying to get Helen down, so we've got. I don't know whether you knew, but through Aviona, I said, when she first Aviona, sorry, I said she told me about yourself, and I said, we'll get you both in the water. We'll get you both in the water.
I did actually swim in the sea regularly. For during COVID.
Oh, well, there you go.
Keith's a great sea swimmer.
Yeah. Is he?
Me, not so much.
Okay. Well, who knows? A big sort of community smile from us, and you're more than welcome to join us. Thanks again, obviously, to you both. And I can almost hear the pottering wheel going upstairs as Keith works hard. And it's exciting that you've got such a project like this. You also have got another project, Mentoreba, which I think we've got a podcast. I'm going to try and get you on a podcast for that, because that's, again, community. It's more in Abersoch, and it's the development of that. So if you're up for it, and we'll certainly get yourself on.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed, all of you, and may the spirit of the Dunkers go with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.